Loban Pai, the art of spiral energetics. Elegantly flourishing spirals. Loban Pai is a comprehensive art that enlivens reservoirs of empathic communion through movements that inspire feelings of heartfelt gratitude. This in turn manifests a true internal standpoint of personal power that brings a genuine ethical view to the forefront of the witness. Comprised of elegant movement sequences and profound awareness techniques with a deeply meditative core, Loban Pai recalibrates perception away from a socially engineered mindset and towards a heart-based approach. Translated as elegantly flourishing spirals, Loban aptly describes the signature coiling motions of the movement family, and Pai indicates a dynamic hand or fist. This name was given to the system by the intuitive empath Luhan Matus in honor of his benefactor, Loban, a prodigious warrior seer from the Altai-Sayan region of Central Asia. As an Oriental shaman, he traveled very deeply into the essence of the Tao, meaning the way of doing and being. Loban Pai operates in harmony with the guiding laws of nature, generating toroidal vortices within and around the body. Mirroring the Fibonacci principle, its unique coiling gestures open up energetic whirlpools, or Shen gongs, which avail one to the heightened levels of sensitivity towards the subtleties of the surrounding world. This photonic light energy is automatically absorbed into these etheric portals, and it is this direct interactivity that delivers the deepest mysteries of Loban Pai to the one who practices. Doorway to the Tao. Doorway to the Tao refers to an etheric entry point to the emptiness that reveals everything, which is a simple means to traverse the complexity of the unknown. Loban Pai draws us into the locus of what is arriving upon us naturally, in terms of our own evolutionary process of awakening. The movements are the physical recipe that opens up that gateway into an intentionless state that holds volumes of sensory data. This is the living application of the Tao, simultaneously expressing both formlessness and form. Loban Pai is characterized by adaptive fluidity and a primary emphasis upon heart alignment. Entering into this system necessitates a sincere engagement and ultimately beckons a humble stance of personal responsibility within the momentary circumstances one is immersed within. Every person, every moment, every gesture is a threshold. When we perform Loban Pai, we become etherically connected to an intangible world. The figure 8 movements open up a field of supreme connectivity that is an empathic universal response to the pure gestures of the practitioner. What avails itself is not defined by the socially deemed world we are surrounded by. The practice effectively opens up a realm of holographic exchange that exists beyond such constructs. It is timeless. This is how the Tao becomes a tangible information base that is endlessly renewed. We must realize that no spiritual practice of substance can be made concrete, for concreteness becomes a viable method of bias, which can only be turned into dogma as a belief system to be rigidly held. When we create Shen gongs, we unlock our fields of bias into a momentary experience of intangibility that contains so many possibilities. This receptivity, then, has to be recalibrated into the practical points that allow us to move forward, or not. We have to be immediate enough to realize what can be done and what cannot be done within the moments that arrive. Intentional power through the mastery of movement. Personal power manifests itself as a physical feeling that can be applied within the gravity of a circumstance, and only in relation with the variables we are momentarily contained within. Through being instructed in Loban Pi, one begins to locate the central point where personal power arises and learns to identify the subtle nuances that indicate when to act and when to withdraw. The steadfast intentionality of one's physical routine cultivates power through cyclic movements that reveal themselves anew every time. By persevering through daily practice of Loban Pi, one may obtain deep wisdom as a result of being subject to the same thing from different perspectives. The body evolves into an alternate frequency each time one becomes immersed within the system. We all have a central axis within our body in terms of our own determination, our own experience. Nevertheless, due to the spiraling factor of the Fibonacci principle, our journey will always locate us in an alternate position to where we had previously been. As we shift into new non-identifiable zones of arrival, we learn to remain fluidly available in response to the intangible essence of each moment, which escapes points of reference that create dogma or bias. In each emerging vantage point, we are seeing things from a totally different perspective, and we can't really expect to find what we will discover. It discovers us. If we don't gratify ourselves by thinking we have found something, wisdom arrives. Vitality, well-being, and photonic energy. Loban Pi instigates a profound realignment of the organic and energetic systems of the body through its natural spiral-based architecture. Deep harmonization of internal and external elements is established through the cellular resonance initiated via the signature coiling motions that increase light sensitivity or the photonic potential of the practitioner. Loban Pi movements support the body to function like a Tesla coil, cultivating magnetic charge at the lower dantian, which builds and rises through the central matrix to the heart and third eye. This creates an internal energetic vortex that opens the central channels, which in turn strengthens the toroidal field around the body. Once sufficient energy has been generated, it proliferates to bring the whole biofield into harmonic alignment and unravels physical, mental, and emotional blockages. Personal transformation, healing, and optimal states of well-being naturally follow once these conditions are in place. An abundance of photonic power directly addresses key energy centers in the body, notably the lower dantian, heart, and third eye chakras. The lower dantian is the house of our primordial essence, known as Jing. The heart dantian houses our qi, representing the manifestation of the power of movement and our capacity to act and be inspired. The third eye, or Shen, has to do with holistic alignment and becoming aware of esoteric aspects of our beingness manifesting around us. Shen is enlivened in direct correspondence with our growth as a human being, and its proliferation indicates the culmination of these three key elements all coming together as the sacred trinity of power itself. Within the central matrix of our toroidal field, our cells are autonomously synchronous, singularly aware, yet attuned empathically to each other in terms of cooperation. Individual consciousness can be viewed in a parallel manner as a worldwide anomaly that brings to light the cascade effect each awareness has, not only upon our own circumstances, but upon the past, present, and future of the collective whole. Dragon Gates. Dragon Gates are the Shengongs located within and surrounding the body that connect us to the world at large. Through processes of social engineering, crucial aspects of their inherent functionality are muted. Low-band pi reactivates these power centers so that dormant electromagnetic hubs return to their original state as the natural interdimensional portals that they are. Unlike passive or still meditation that relies on abstract concepts such as mantra or rituals, low-band pi directly engages the etheric energy field and kinesthetic awareness, which then draws in situational attraction in terms of what we become open to. When our peripheral focus is placed on both activated palms, these 2 points form a hidden third location. This creates a refraction of attention, which allows the practitioner to locate and connect to the dragon gates in terms of feeling. The dynamic application of movements and active mudras of low-band pi activate the Shengongs as bidirectional portals. The practitioner beckons from within, and eternity finds an opening whereby it can respond. This manifests the subtle miracle of entering a dragon gate, which is a direct experience of communion with spirit, for one's emptiness co-opts an intimate interaction that is heart-based. Once received, the solar plexus then disseminates this impulse through the entire system. These gifts of eternity allow us to glean insights even years after an event, as one's reality manifests situations relevant to our true evolution. Within low-band pi, we generate vortices via the movements, which in essence allow us to apprehend all forms of light directly from our environment. These frequencies are inevitably transformed and collected by our toroidal field. When we become electrically charged via our practice, we create heightened sensitivity within our biofield, and this enhances our capacity to absorb and then observe what is necessary for the evolution of our consciousness. Thus, our body becomes familiarized with the omnipresent factor, which is fractally available, and will adapt and facilitate accordingly to the needs of the moment. Everything that is realized is readapted into each individual's bioelectromagnetic matrix. This is how we step forward into our own personal spiritual growth as conscious beings, in terms of attempting to be aware of what we are traveling towards. The information that arrives upon our biofield through these dragon gates is always transforming. Since our planet is traveling, the stars are moving, and everything is in continual flux. We are subject to different light, alternative pressures, and endless variations of frequency as a result of that perpetual motion. The vortices created within low-band pi through the elegant gestures of this internal system are conjoined with figure-8 movements, which function as a key that unlocks the surrounding energy field. These dynamic mudras allow the unknown to become infused within our field of consciousness in terms of our capacity to understand what we are absorbing as feeling. Feeling is a universal language that inevitably transforms into insight. Then that frequency is adapted into the words that need to be spoken. And this arrival is like being subject to a different culture. Each time this influx renews, one becomes extremely expansive as a result of the frequential recalibration. By virtue of this contact, one invariably evolves into the fractal anomaly that we truly are as interdimensional beings. A path with heart. The mastery of one's inner self is a heart path that realizes the internal essence of the arrival of everything within one's field of perception. Low-band pi offers a uniquely practical method for activating this profound intelligence. One's heart hears and sees and doesn't speak to itself. It knows when to act and when to withdraw. It is courageous enough to openly verbalize a non-scripted truth, and subtle enough to remain silent when appropriate. To utter the scriptures of this internal awareness, which is the true mind, is to represent a mysterious source of intelligence that becomes viable through the voice of the person who has thus become its conduit. Within this path of integrity, one must continually adapt and adjust, and this implies strategy. In this case, strategies are not implemented. Instead, they are duly noted, and one becomes purposeful in terms of not applying what has been realized, allowing it to manifest as insight instead of a doing. Then it becomes transformed via the mysteries of emptiness into a not doing. The path thus revealed corresponds to the needs and the values of that particular person's realizations, and the growth of each individual is defined by where they are, not where they think they should be. Every step taken by every person is then revealed to be appropriate via their situational attunement. For the doorway that opens up will inevitably relate to the process of their own awakening. Learning low-band pi. Low-band pi forms are taught during week-long programs, following a natural learning curve that builds essential skills from the foundation up. Students are fully equipped to apply the practices of each series once the course is completed. Lujan Matus is a master of engaging intuitively from an empathic perspective to access the most potent axis of transformation in any given circumstance. This means that what arrives naturally in terms of an evolutionary process of personal and collective awakening is always taken into full account, and every course introduces unique elements. All forms incorporate moving, sitting, and standing postures that encourage the body to establish a true link to gravity in terms of the magnetism that can be applied. Each component of low-band pi offers a distinct contribution to the system as an integrated whole, and can be combined in correspondence with other forms along a progressive path of learning. Internal martial art. Embedded within the dynamic movement sets of low-band pi is a hidden martial art called Shadow Fist. Learning the warrior applications of the system is an advanced study and subject to invitation by Lujan. An extremely potent close-quarter system, Shadow Fist bears characteristics shared with numerous closely guarded ancient combat arts and is highly adaptable. Wooden dummy is used as a training device in this evolved martial form. all external movements remain connected to the internal, their true source of power. A quantum perspective. Quantum science affirms the existence of an omnipresent shape of optimal motion in the known universe, commonly known as the Fibonacci sequence or the golden ratio. Through the advent of this particular branch of physics, this ancient knowledge has been substantiated in a way that satisfies the modern bias that requires a quantifiable measure of what was already perceivable. All naturally occurring structures flow in these spirals at micro and macrocosmic levels, forming toroidal shapes like that of human and planetary energy fields. Liquids, gases, and the growth patterns of organic and inorganic forms all follow this adaptive format precisely for the reason that it allows energy to be applied most efficiently. Low-band pi yields optimal results by following these same pathways. The genius of how low-band pi cultivates electromagnetic potential is becoming apparent now that quantum science provides us with analogous insights and adequate syntax to describe what is actually taking place. Lineage. The roots of low-band pi trace back to before the epoch of the Chinese Yellow Emperor, 2500 BC. The pure forms and deeper applications of this exquisite art have been hidden until now. In the 18th century, Master Loban, a sea trader by profession, found his way to Mexico. Upon settling there, he became involved with another ancient esoteric tradition, known today as the Toltec Path. He became the leader of that lineage and was henceforth known as the Nagual Lujan. The only principle that he wished to absorb during his time in Mexico was the primary focus on the path with heart, and this remains the essential compass of low-band pi to this day. The master intuitive empath Lujan Matus is now the living embodiment of these transmitted teachings. Interweaving timelines. The catalytic transmission Lujan received from Master Loban, which manifested during a pivotal moment of his childhood at the age of 7, was subsequently revealed to have spanned many years of his current lifetime, and concurrently, several other alternate timelines. The intricacies of this time-bending initiation have been well documented in his first book, The Art of Stalking Parallel Perception, where a treasure trove of key principles are introduced via this event and other defining encounters. In each edition that follows, new elements are revealed, illuminating an odyssey that stretches one's perceptual bandwidth to encompass a non-linear paradigm. By engaging in the discipline of low-band pi, we begin to amalgamate past and future continuums within present consciousness. Since we don't live long enough to truly attain mastery in one lifetime, these practices allow one to access glimpses into alternate realities and provide the foundation to disseminate and ground that information into the precious moments that are continually escaping us. To discover the secrets of our own personal journey reflects upon everyone's evolutionary status in the long run. One affects the whole, and the whole affects one. Low-band pi brings about fractalized experiences that are multiple in comparison to one's situational consciousness being affected by only one reality. When you contact this capacity, you can actualize the leaps that you need to achieve in this lifetime and not be subject to genetic memory loss and forget about what you have experienced and have to start all over again. These principles have been thoroughly elucidated in Lujan's 5th book, Who Am I? When in contact with this consciousness, individuals can act to affect their present timeline in a way that then subtly infuses the dynamic of their future, which is the true Mandela effect, to have consequences on past and present dynamics in terms of what one really realizes about what is meant to be applied in this lifetime. Luhan has recovered 5 specific lifetimes, one of which revealed the memories that were contained within Master Loban's experiences. One of the gifts of Soshinapo, also known as the Tenet, which was revealed in Luhan's first book to Master Loban, was the ability to reach his attention forward to become a new being and simultaneously retain the most pertinent memories from 4 previous lifetimes. These lifespans sustain Master Loban's power to reach a hand through the centuries to become Luhan Matus. This principle applies equally to Luhan's current life experience. 4 major lifetimes must be held in place through an act of power, so he himself can reach forward 500 years, which he has already achieved, to discover his next incarnation. This information has been documented in Shadows in the Twilight. Within an altered state, in a deep parallel reality, beyond the confines of this living construct, Luhan Matus received from Master Loban the entire scope of Loban Pi. As Luhan matures as a seer, the deeper aspects of perception, in terms of the full implications of Master Loban's transferal of consciousness, have far-reaching consequences that bring a deep state of reverence and humbleness to him in the present day. The other continuums that Luhan has become aware of are, as such, mere glimpses. As his life unfolds, he may reveal who he was, and in turn, the ramifications of these alternate memories will be applied in comparison to his living circumstances, to bear witness to that mystery that is continually unfolding in every instant. One of the major forms that was transferred to Luhan Matus from Master Loban was the elegant movement sequence known as Dragon's Tears. This set was created by him so as to help all practitioners of this art retain the subtle currents, the vibratory essence, the living frequency that one obtains when traversing Bardo. Dragon's Tears contains within it the ability to transform consciousness into an extremely profound, trance-like state, and includes static postures hidden within the movements that create astounding amounts of electric and magnetic power, as do all the forms of Loban Pi.